What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be continuing with the trend of breaking things down in Modern Warfare that really aren't used all that much, because I've already covered all of the really important things throughout the year that are used most often. But what we're going to be covering today is the gas grenade, because this is something that I don't see used all that often, and I feel like a lot of people don't know exactly how this works, so that's what we're going to be looking at in today's video. And let's just jump right into it. The gas grenade is fairly simple in the sense that it's a tactical piece of equipment. You throw it out, you see a big cloud of green gas, and anybody that goes into that gas is affected by it. However, not everybody knows all of the effects that take place when you're in this gas. So let's cover that right up front here. And the first characteristic of being in this gas is it slows down your movement speed, and it also prevents you from being able to sprint. If you sprint into it, it will stop you from sprinting, or if you're already in it, you can't sprint at all until you get outside of the radius of it. It is worth noting though, unlike a concussion grenade, this doesn't impact your sensitivity or your ability to turn your aim at all. It's only your movement speed that it affects here. On top of this, you also get somewhat blurred vision, especially if you're moving side to side. It's almost like it reduces your frame rate artificially. It gets really choppy when you're moving side to side and you're trying to aim around at things. And it's even got a little bit of a shake to it as well, so it's kind of like a bit of a stunning effect. Now, quite possibly the worst effect that this gas grenade will have on you is the animation where you put your arm up to your face because you're trying to protect your face from the gas. And while you're doing this, you can't aim down sight for that time, and you're stuck hip firing, and this can really throw you off. And I did a little bit of testing on this, and I figured out if the gas grenade hits you directly with the explosion, this animation will take about 2.5 to 3 seconds, which is a very long time in Call of Duty terms, where you can only hip fire and you can't aim down sight. However, if the gas grenade has already gone off and you weren't within that explosion radius, but then you enter the radius of the gas, then the animation only lasts for about 1.2 seconds or so. So it's still kind of annoying and it's going to get in your way, but it's not nearly as bad as if you were to get hit pretty much directly by that gas grenade. Now finally, one last negative impact that the gas grenade has on you is it causes your character to cough a lot. And this might seem pretty minimal, but that sound cue can be very important for an enemy player because they don't get any sort of a hit marker while you're in that gas if the gas has already gone off. So they have to rely on that sound cue to know if you're within the gas, or obviously they have to be looking at the gas to see if you enter that. So you can see there, the gas grenade has a lot of effects on an enemy player, but a couple things I did want to point out here is it doesn't have any impact on your heads-up display, so it doesn't make your minimap disappear or anything like that. And also it's worth noting that the gas grenade doesn't actually deal any damage to you directly. Now, if you're within the initial explosion radius, if the enemy throws a gas grenade like right at your feet, for instance, yes, it will deal literally 1 point of damage to you, but that's it. You don't take damage over time for being in the gas grenade at all. So those are the basic effects of the gas grenade, but now I want to look at some other characteristics. First up, let's have a look at the radius of the gas grenade. And with this, it turns out with the initial explosion, when that gas grenade first goes off, it will affect anybody within about a 7-meter radius. Then, after that initial explosion, while the gas is still lingering around, the effect radius is reduced down to about 6.5 meters, based on what I can see in my testing, which is pretty close to the same amount. Now, quite possibly the most interesting part about the damage radius is it works through walls. So it doesn't matter if somebody's inside a building and you throw a gas grenade against the wall on the outside of the building. As long as they're within that effect radius, it's going to be impacting them. So this can potentially be a great way to flush a camper out. At the very least in like Warzone, for instance, if you think there might be somebody camping in a room or in a building, you could just throw a gas grenade on the wall on the outside, and then you can just listen, and if they're in there, you will hear their character model coughing. And on top of that, of course, you will likely flush that character out of that area because I think a lot of players think that they're taking damage when they're in gas grenades, so they will immediately just try and get out of the radius of that, even if they're not necessarily in imminent danger. And I guess this just leaves us with one last important thing to know about the gas grenade, and this is the duration of effect. It turns out these effects will last for 7.5 seconds. So anybody within that radius will be impacted for 7.5 seconds, which is a pretty long time in Call of Duty terms, especially in multiplayer. Less so in Warzone, but in regular multiplayer, 7.5 seconds is a very long time in Call of Duty. Now, before we get into the counter for gas grenade, there's a couple other little unique things about this that a lot of people aren't aware of that are definitely worth pointing out here. This is, the gas grenade actually has an impact on NVG as well as thermal sights. So let's start off with the thermal optic. In this case, you can see the enemy doesn't have cold-blooded equipped, so you can see them glowing nice and bright and white when there's no obstruction at all. However, when I throw that gas grenade and then I aim at the enemy player, you can still kind of make them out, but it makes them look like they're a cold-blooded player. Like, you can still kind of see the character outline, and generally you should be okay still in this situation, but it will mask them quite well if you're using a thermal sight. More surprisingly, if you're using an NVG optic and you throw a gas grenade, once again, same thing, the enemy doesn't have cold-blooded, so they glow super bright when you're aiming down sight at them without the gas grenade. Then when we throw the gas grenade between us and the target and aim down sight, they're gone. They're basically invisible at this point. Yes, you can still see the red name tag above them, but aside from that, it pretty much completely masks them from your view. So yeah, I guess if you're in a match where you happen to be dealing with somebody that's being really annoying and they're using an NVG sight or even a thermal optic and you don't want to use cold-blooded, the gas grenade is actually a pretty decent counter to that. But that pretty much covers it for all of the important things that I wanted to mention when it comes to the gas grenade and how it interacts with various things and exactly how it works. Now I want to move into the counter to the gas grenade, and this is Battle Hardened. So Battle Hardened does counter the gas grenade to some extent, but I did want to point out you still have to deal with some of the effects of the gas grenade if you're within the radius while using Battle Hardened. And the first thing is your movement is still affected. It seems to be exactly the same way as if you didn't have Battle Hardened, so it slows your movement speed down a little bit, and it prevents you from using sprint while in the radius of a gas grenade. Also, you still get slightly blurred vision. It's not nearly as bad as if you're not using Battle Hardened, but it is worth noting that your vision will be blurred a little bit. But fortunately, that's about it. If you're using Battle Hardened, those are the only effects you're going to be seeing. Once again, your ability to aim and your sensitivity while aiming, that's unchanged. Also, I think one of the keys here is you no longer have that animation of putting your arm up to your face, which prevents you from aiming down sight. That's probably the biggest benefit to using Battle Hardened against a gas grenade. That part isn't affected at all, so you generally can fight back just fine while using Battle Hardened while in a gas grenade radius, because your ability to aim down sight and your ability to aim at your target isn't affected at all, plus your vision isn't nearly as blurry, so you can generally still track your target just fine, and that's great. Now, a really important thing to point out here with Battle Hardened is it only works against enemy gas grenades. So if you're thinking about using the strategy of throwing your own gas grenade into an area and then jumping into your own gas grenade and thinking, well, I have Battle Hardened, so I'll be protected and the enemies won't be, in theory, it sounds like a great idea, but it turns out Battle Hardened doesn't work at all in your own gas. So if you enter your own gas, even with Battle Hardened, you still have to put your arm up to your face. You won't be able to aim down sight, and your vision will be just as blurry as if you were in an enemy's gas grenade without Battle Hardened equipped. So yeah, Battle Hardened is an amazing counter to an enemy player's gas grenade. It just doesn't help you in your own gas grenade. And with that, that's pretty much going to wrap it up for today's video on the gas grenade in Modern Warfare. As for my thoughts on this, I find it to be more annoying than anything. I wouldn't say like it's a top tier piece of tactical equipment, but it can really get on the enemy player's nerves, especially on a small map like Shipment, for instance. It is so frustrating to run into that, unless you have Battle Hardened, and now we know that Battle Hardened is a great counter to the gas grenade. So if you happen to run into somebody that's spamming those around the map, just throw Battle Hardened on, and the gas grenade will suddenly have a much smaller effect on you. As for my thoughts on the gas grenade in Warzone specifically, it's definitely got its uses, and like I said, it can be nice for flushing a camper out of a building, for instance, because it works through walls. And also, if somebody's trying to get away from you and they're running out in the open, but you might not have enough time to get all your shots off, you can hit them with that gas grenade, which will slow them down significantly. Or if you're just about to get into a fight with somebody, you can hit them with a gas grenade and use it almost like a stun grenade, so it forces them to bring their arm up so they can't aim down sight at you. There are many different ways that you can use the gas grenade in Warzone, but I wouldn't necessarily call this a top tier piece of tactical equipment in that mode. I would much rather be using something like a stun grenade or a heartbeat sensor, or honestly maybe even a snapshot grenade. That's the gas grenade. Those are my opinions. I'd like to know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Do you think the gas grenade is a really underrated piece of equipment, or do you think it's just not so great? Just let me know those thoughts down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.